Hello, everybody. We have Sharita here today. And since I came into contact with her a few years ago, the word that always comes to mind when I see her is a journey. And so, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Okay. So, my first question is on a personal level, is there a pivotal thing that occurred in your life that made you the woman you are today?
Well, when I think about that, there's probably a couple of things that comes to mind. I used to think that initially the transformative moment for me was when my first husband was killed in an accident, and so I shifted in a lot of ways in terms of how I was proceeding with life, because up until that point I really thought that we had everything mapped out, how it was going to manifest, that we would be two elderly people together raising our children, when you think you have all the answers. And so I took a step away from my regular job, and I thought, seeking a place that I thought would like have more of a purpose for me. And I ended up working for a hospice at that time, which is a ministry in and of itself when you're helping people in the end of life journey. I thought that I was being driven to that moment because of what had happened with my husband. But probably maybe 8 or 9 months into that job, my niece was diagnosed with brain cancer. And so she ended up living with me for the last 7 months of her life uh, on hospice care. But what I really felt like, or what I found out at that point, was really it was my responsibility to help guide my family through the journey of hospice care. And when somebody is, because she had made the decision herself to not, get any more curative treatment, and a family was totally against that. Everybody is thinking, we got to keep fighting. We've got to get a cure, and so helping them through that time, it just changed me in ways that I didn't even realize. And so then I knew uh, from an early age, because that was kind of what was taught to us, even from my grandparents, is that service to others is something we should do, whether it's giving somebody a meal or helping somebody whenever you can. So then it was on a larger scale that I found myself all the time, working with people, working with families. And so my personal experience it was a transformative moment for me, because um, I had faced um, death and dying in my family before, but this was a lot closer. And then when I had experienced it with my husband, I thought, well, can't be anything more impactful than that. And then, of course, in this last year, I've experienced death on a whole different level. So I think for me, those times challenged me. It stretched me, and it made me more determined to be able to be of service of others who are encountering those difficult times in their lives.
Okay. If there was someone watching who they're facing that in their life, and when I say facing that, meaning they're realizing that they have a greater responsibility in this life than to just do them,
Mhm.
what would you encourage them with? Because I can only speak for me. I thought my life, it's about do me, it's about
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
whatever is for me. But as I realized personally that it's really about others, that was a whole experience for me. So what would you say to that individual?
Well, I mean, what I would encourage people to do, because most times people think that it has to be something on this monumental level. Okay, when you're talking about being of service to others or helping others, or something that catapults you out to the front. You know this of me. I'm very comfortable being in the background. I really don't have to be out front, and this is my preferred spot to not be out front. But I've always said that even if in the smallest way that you can help someone, then you can do it. And just start simple, and then allow yourself to grow into what it is that God has for you.
Okay. Okay. So on a professional level, was there a pivotal experience that you had that got you to the point to where you're at professionally right now?
Um, kind of. I mean, what I spoke about previously is it was kind of a personal and professional thing because at that time I was the director of that hospice, and so it did move me. But I would say um, very early in my career, I had lost a job. I well, let me back up a little bit. I got a job, thought that it was going to be my dream job, and then probably like 2 months into the job, I was in a car accident and needed to be out. So the doctors that I worked for at that time, while they seemed to have a liking to me, they had responsibilities, so they couldn't necessarily keep me in that job. And I was trying to rush, uh, to get back into shape where I could come back because I didn't want to lose that job. And then they let me know that they were going to have to replace me before I was able to come back. And it hurt because when you think that this is what is for you and what should be, what I learned later is that God really had something bigger for me because uh, I didn't have a job, and so when I maybe 3 or 4 weeks after that, I went to interview for a job, and I was just actually looking for a staff nurse job. And when I came into the office building, there was a gentleman that came. I was talking to the receptionist at the desk, telling her that I had an appointment to meet with one of the clinical directors. And a gentleman came from the back and just engaged in conversation with me. So, you know, we'll talk to anybody in my family. As we never really meet any strangers. So I spent, probably a better amount of 10 or 15 minutes just kind of talking and sharing with me. Unbeknownst to me, this was actually the administrator of the building. And so when I went in to interview for the staff nurse position, he came in behind me and told the director that they were in need of an assistant director. And he had met with me and he thought that I would be a good fit for their organization. So it was kind of blew me away because I really wasn't expecting, that. And it was kind of like, and I really didn't have any experience with it, clinical directorship at that point. But when the door opened for me, I stepped into it. And it really did set me up for many, many positions after that. It was just like, once I got in and started to learn the trade, and then you develop this, reputation within the workforce of someone who can get the job done. And so I just kept moving up higher. So when I think about a pivotal moment, that is one for me because I was looking for something here, and God was saying elevation at that time.
Okay. So throughout those years of experience, do you have a favorite story, one of your happiest moments doing what it is that you do? Because when you were saying that, not only did I hear something, it's just something like, I really like what I did and I was really good at it. So do you have a story you want to share?
I got so many of those, and let me just say, I have, I've been a nurse for almost 30 years, so I have always have had a passion for helping people, and definitely have a love for our elders. Worked in geriatrics for many many years, and still kind of dabble with it whenever I can, just because I love being with our elders, and you can learn so much from them. Um, Probably if I can narrow it down to one experience, uh, I would go back to that first job that I was telling you about. I met a young lady. She actually was one of the nursing assistants that worked with me. You worked with her for probably like 4 or 5 years. And then fast forward probably like 15 years later, when I was a director of a hospice, I got a phone call that we had a referral. And the referral was actually for, well, her name was such a unique name. Once I saw the name, I knew it had to be the same person. Well, the referral was actually for her mother. And so they didn't have insurance and, different things that were going on. But in the industry, we have just what they call, we can do some charity, some
Okay.
charity places. And so I got into my car and I drove over. I didn't tell her that I was coming. When they set it up, they just said that our one of our staff would come out and meet with them to talk about the service and what we offered and all this kind of stuff. And so I took the call myself, and I went over to her home. And when I met with her, I mean, it was beautiful because I hadn't seen her in all those years, and for us to reconnect at one of the most difficult times in her life, watching her mother, and then to have me, who somebody she held in high regard, to be there to help kind of navigate that process. I went back and we took care of the mother. But here is where I believe I really was sent there for, because maybe a month and a half after we brought her mother on to service, the young lady was diagnosed with liver cancer, stage 4 liver cancer. So now, where I'm thinking I was going out there to help with her mother, I ended up taking care of her. She actually passed away before her mother did. Her mother had Alzheimer's, but she, succumbed to the liver cancer. But the time frame in between, reconnecting with her and then establishing a rapport and the trust, and her feeling comfortable enough to um, pass away, or to accept that's what was going to happen to her, because she felt like her mother was going to be taken care of, was one of my favorite moments in practice.
Okay. Well, I remember one time when I had saw you as a part of Fountain of Praise prison ministry, and I asked my friend George Houston, one of the co-heads of that ministry, I said, what is Sharita going to do? Because I'm always interested in,
Yes,
if there is an opportunity for anyone to do something for God, I just want to make sure that I ask. And he was like,
yes,
oh, she's in the back. She want to stay in the back.
yeah,
And so now I'm going to fast forward to this year of 2020 in ministry.
hmm,
You've been quite busy. You've been very effective, and you found yourself in the forefront.
hmm.
Is there anything that you'd like to share about that journey or evolution?
Well, what I will say is, I think that up to this point, everything that has happened prepared me for the time to come out front. One of the things I used to say all the time, because you asked that question, but almost everybody, because I've been doing prison ministry for, what is this, like 13 years. So almost everybody, after a while and seeing you there consistently, want to know, okay, when are you going to say something? Or, well, you don't have anything to say, you don't want to share your testimony or what have you. And I used to say to them, I'm okay with where I am. I think that when the time is right for me to step out front, there'll be no hesitation, because when God will tell me I need to do it, I'll just step in and do what I need to do. I used to say that. In my mind, I didn't know when that was going to happen. And so this year, with the murder of my cousin, and being like one of the elders and the person in my family that always kinds of, takes the lead on, taking care of things and handling things and putting things together. When we, got to that place where it was like, okay, we need someone to talk to us about, tell us about the family. Can you speak about this? Um, it was really a no-brainer at that point that it was time for me to be able to say what I felt needed to be said, and communicated in such a way that people understood that the person that died was somebody who was cared for and loved tremendously, and that as a cohesive unit, we are committed to not only fighting so that what happened with him is not something that just kind of falls by the wayside, but that it changes for generations to come. I have a son, 9-year-old son, and several family members, because we have a large family. But it's not just about our family. It's just about, people in general, men in general, Black men in general, making sure that we are out there and doing everything we can to, to make this change effective, that it's not just another hashtag.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions for you. I probably should have some questions for you, but I don't. I don't, because when you talk about, I have a comment, if I can make a comment about you.
Okay,
Okay. What I will say is that in ministry is something, you go in and out, and we encounter a lot of different people. But one of the things that I can say about you from the time that I first met you is that people hold you in high regard. Everybody that I have come in contact that knows you talks about how you are of service and out there trying to make sure that you do what you can to help people. And so it's one thing for people to say that, but it's something that I've experienced personally. The messages that you have sent me encouraging me, the prayers that you have done for me and for my family are something that I greatly appreciate. I don't take it lightly, because I believe prayer does change things. And for me, it has changed things. It's the only reason why I'm still here, is because of prayers and because of God's grace and mercy. So I want to say to you that I'm grateful for the Kingdom Connection, and I appreciate everything that you've done, and I wish nothing but abundant blessings upon your life.
thank you. I appreciate you for your time. I know you're very busy, and I hope that you have a wonderful set of holidays.
Yes, we
Okay?
will. We will. We've already declared it. It's going to be. So it's so. It is so.
Amen.